Hey Rockstars, I'm JB, expert salesperson and master presenter.
I'm the doctor, psychologist, and behavioral expert.
This is the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab podcast.
We're high-performance coaches that help service-based professionals and entrepreneurs take their skills to the next level.
70% of entrepreneurs fail, which is why every week we have real talk with real entrepreneurs to help ensure you are not one of them.
We're also the inventors of the Be Rich mindset,
where we rise to mastery,
inspire greatness,
celebrate knowledge,
and help others along the way.
So join us in the lab.
And now, on to the show.
Welcome back to the lab. I'm JB.
I'm the doctor.
As always, we're happy to have you. If you've listened in before and you're back again, thank you so much for joining us. We always have real talk with real professionals, and we're so excited for our guest today. But before we even jump into that, if you happen to be listening for your very first time, thank you. Make sure that you like, you follow, you subscribe, you give us a 5-star review, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on a podcast app. We're super pumped that you're joining us today here in the lab. And couldn't be more excited because we're sitting right here at the end of the quarter, Doc. A pretty fun time.
How the heck did that happen? I just said Happy New Year's like a couple days ago.
I know. At what point do you have to stop saying Happy New Year's, by the way? Is there like a hard rule on that? Certainly by like the end of the quarter, you got to end of Q1. You really kind of need to put a hold on that. It's crazy. So end of Q1, you're a quarter of the way through the year already. And a lot of people, how do you think they did this year? Do you had a guess? Just curious.
I'm guessing all our listeners absolutely crushed it.
Yeah, they did.
That's my guess. But I also think this is a good time to reassess, right? Because you could have crushed it and you could have missed a few things, but it's okay just to take that time and say, hey, am I still on the path that I set in the beginning of the year goals? Do those need to be reassessed? I think we get that idea of once we set a goal, we can't ever change it. And this is a great time to take a look at the ones that we set for the rest of the year and still see if they're relevant.
Yeah, my one piece of recommendation to everybody listening out there, if you're not stepping back and taking like a day, a quarter to really sit back, review on what you did and what you didn't accomplish to adjust it, you really need to carve out that time to work on the business. I'm not sure people are as deliberate with that as they ought to be. So it's a good message to everybody out there. Speaking of good messages to everybody out there, I am super pumped for our upcoming guest. We have Liana Zavo of ZavoMedia joining us. She has just this absolutely incredible background and an incredible story about how she built out the business she has today. And I'm really excited because I feel like we haven't had a PR strategist on the show quite yet. Or if we have, maybe they just didn't excite me as much as I am to have Liana join us. So Liana, thanks so much for coming into the lab with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited and honored to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. I was really pumped just based on your background, and I don't want to share any more of it than I need to with our audience. I want you to be able to do that. But I was really excited to bring you on, and I'm so excited for all our listeners to be able to hear from you. Do us a favor, kind of tell us who you are and what you're doing right now so our listeners have a better feel for it.
Absolutely. So I am the CEO and founder of ZavoMedia Group, headquartered in New York City. And we're actually going global. So Dubai, Paris, London, here we come. I'm a publicist, PR strategist. I'm here to tell your story and take you to the public, to the masses, bring the media attention to you. I'm an author. I wrote the book B.E.P.I.C, 5 Simple Hacks, 1-word acronym to teach you how to speak up, gain confidence, how to take your belief, make it into a reality, and have the courage to speak up, have the courage to step out of your comfort zone and make the best yet version of yourself. Because personal branding, as you guys know, is everything. And that's how you build authenticity. That's how you build trust with your viewers and your clients. And that's what I'm all about.
I love that you're headquartered out in New York. I grew up right outside of the city, so I love having the New York energy on the show. It's always fun. You always bring it. So that's fantastic. I want to ask about the going global. Congratulations, by the way, but I got to bite my tongue here or bite my cheek and just, I want to look backwards first before we look forwards. Can you tell our audience your story and kind of where you started from, how your background has influenced your business and where you are today? Because I think it's just incredible.
Wow, where do I start? Because I think I need days for this. But in a nutshell, I am, I am a driven person, and it all started out when I was told, no, you can't pursue PR. And that was in high school. I was in 11th grade. And I asked my English teacher if I can be on TV and what can I do in order to be recognized. And she told me, you know what? No, you're just an immigrant. I'm from Russia. And she told me, why don't you just stick to what you know? And that's not for you because you need to foster relationships. And basically, just have a really strong foundation. You need to go to college and the whole 9 yards. Thinking to myself, I know immigrants are the most hardworking people there are. So coming from a background where my parents work hard, and I come from a background where my father's an entrepreneur, and he set that bar really high for me. I know that from day one, I want to aspire to be like him. And so whatever people told me, it's like in one ear, out the other. Yes, I was, teenager, and something did trigger inside of me telling me that she's a naysayer, okay? And whatever she told me, I'll take that and turn into a motivation. So long story short, I get into college, and guess what? My parents swayed me from the idea. When my parents swayed me, I knew that there's no turning back because very strict family, conservative, Russian. And so it's not their way, then it's the highway. And so I pursued something that was more conservative, right? It was 9 to 5, and I went into speech pathology, which I didn't like doing because I had my son, and I'm a young mom. I had him when I was 19 years old. And so going from a child to learning how to deal with children, for me, it was really, it took a lot out of me. It wasn't rewarding. And so I dropped out of college at 21. I said to myself, I'm not doing this. If I'm not going to pursue PR, if you're not going to support me, then I'm dropping out. So I dropped out, and I got divorced at 20, dropped out at 21. And I got into fashion, and I loved dressing, and I loved doing hair. So I got my cosmetology degree, and then I opened up my own company. So having my own company at age 23, a styling concierge company, and working with top tier hotels in New York City, that was super rewarding. And then I decided to get into insurance. I said, perhaps I can get my Series 6 and 63 and challenge my mindset a little, because, taking those tests was really hard, but I did it because I wanted to prove to myself, yes, I'm a college dropout, but can I challenge my mindset? Can I take those tests? So I did the insurance for a while as well, while I had my concierge company. I did so many things at the same time. But then everything happened, everything changed when I met this incredible woman who told me, you know what, I see something in you. You're a visionary. Can you help me brand my skincare company? I said, you know what, I have no idea what branding is. Well, she's like, look, you're doing an amazing you're styling, and you have a brand, you have a company. So why don't you come helping my skincare line? I'll introduce you to my PR company, and you'll just take it from there. And so that PR company was then hired to represent my restaurant in New York City, which was run by my brother, Zavo. And so when we hired them, it was under one ultimatum that they will teach me everything that I need to know for a year and a half, and I'll bring them all the clients just to leverage that, which I did. And then everything else is history.
I love that. I mean, I absolutely, wow. You put a lot. You put a lot in there quick. But I love that you didn't take the easy road, right? Like nothing you did was easy.
No.
And that's awesome to put out there. I think more impressive, not that you made the difficult choices, which I think goes a long way, but you kind of like had an unravel in a sense, right? Everything kind of unraveled. At 20, I'm getting divorced. At 21, I'm dropping out of college, and I've got a kid, and I'm just trying to figure this out. But it wasn't I know I'm going to go do this. It was, I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to do this, and I'm going to bring this on board. And then really interesting that somebody approaches you and they see something in you that maybe you didn't even see in yourself at that point in time.
Yeah.
Which I think is an enlightening thing for a lot of people to realize, because we have a lot of blind spots, right? We all have blind spots around ourselves, especially. And sometimes it takes an outsider to look at us and be like, what are you talking about? That's a real strength of yours, or you already have that, right? You don't need to go find it. You have it. My favorite thing though, Liana, hands down, because this we hear from so many professionals we bring onto the podcast. You didn't just try to go do something. You said, hey, let me really kind of have a partnership with this PR company and learn for a year and a half before I just try to do it myself. that must have made a really big difference in launching your own company today, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now I get to ask. Now I'm really excited. I get to ask. You're going global. So you mentioned Dubai. Did I hear Paris as well?
Yes.
Okay.
And London.
And London.
Yes.
That's amazing. How are you scaling global, right? Can you just kind of walk us through what the decision was there to go global in the first place and kind of how you're approaching that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a lot of inquiries coming in my way where they're, look, we want to be featured in Forbes because I'm a Forbes contributor. I contribute for Entrepreneur magazine and Inc magazine. So they wanted to be featured and get visibility here in the American market. And so I saw the need that, people from Dubai, investors and real estate developers were actually the two main niche actually approached me. And I said, you know what, that this will be a great opportunity and actually venture out. I always wanted to be global, hence why I named it ZavoMedia PR Group. I knew that I'll be in many places. And so I did manifest it in some way.
Nice. Very, very nice. And so that's already active. You are already global, or it's still coming?
No, it is. So we have virtual offices. I do have people that are working there, but it's not a set. Obviously, right now everything is virtual. COVID has changed everything. I think for the best. It was the best thing that happened for my company. And so yes, it actually so it's virtual offices that we have in each country.
That's wonderful. So COVID was a jumping point for you then, in your company and what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Can you share just with our listeners just real basic the importance of PR in your experience and the difference between companies that are using it and companies that aren't, or maybe companies using it effectively and companies that aren't?
Right. So, when I represent my clients, it's actually more personal branding. When you say companies, I don't represent companies. I would represent the person who's the face of the company, right? And so it's so important, right, to be seen and be heard. In my company, we fight invisibility. So if you're not visible, we come in and we fight that. We want you to be seen. We want you to be heard. And the only way to do it is to develop authority. And in my book, I teach exactly how to develop authority. And that is with trust, right? Anyone, whoever you are, if you're even in college, you need to have some sort of personal brand. And so because that is an evolution, you need to build on your personal brand. People need to know how you transitioned. When you Google me, I'm sure you'll see things from when I used to style. And then you'll see that from things from my restaurant. You see that, things were added to it's like a resume, but people want to see it in real time. So when I talk to entrepreneurs who want to be seen and heard on a national level, I talk about their visibility, talk about their credibility and their profitability, right? How much profit, what are they looking, what are the long and short-term goals? And so the most important thing to start them off is by sharing their story. Can you share your story, your accolades, your expertise? People want you to be a thought leader in the industry. They want you to speak about what you excel at. They also want to hear your challenges. They want to hear how you pivoted during COVID. What happened to you? They want to resonate with you. And that's what exactly I try to do with my clients, so that in order for them to excel, they need to share their story and really be, relatable.
Do you find that there's something specific that people get in their own way on with that, right? Is it sharing their stories? Is it the brag? Is it the sharing the failures? Kind of where do you see people get stuck a lot?
Transparency. They feel like, if they're going to, share to the core what happened to them. For example, if their business failed, it was an epic fail. Oh my God, I don't want to be judged. Why? But you picked yourself up and this is what happened as a result, or if you went a total different route, if you're not pursuing what you were doing before, it's fine as well. And so for them just to get over that hurdle of saying, you know what, I've done it, I've tried it, and this is who I am. They're stuck in their mind so much and the self-sabotage themselves from actually expressing themselves and just being perfect. You don't need to be a perfect human, right? For people to relate to you. Every entrepreneur I met, they're not perfect. I mean, I don't want to even work with someone who's perfect, right? I want to know your ups and downs. And so that's what I really hone in on. I want to know how you started, where's your expertise, and don't be afraid to even share some things that from your childhood, that you want to teach others. People want to read about you and kind of like learn, you know what, I just got these amazing tips and I want to work with him.
I feel like people get stuck that way a lot of times, because what you were saying earlier, right, about your story and your your teachers and your family kind of setting this tone of what they expect from you, they get caught up in that I'm taking that risk. I'm going away from what they're saying. But now if I admit that something didn't go right, I'm giving them that power. I'm giving them that, oh yeah, see, I was right. And we get caught up in, we have to stay in that positive set of, no, I did it all right. So they don't question that path. And it is about getting in your own head a lot of the times with that. But that's a big block on what people get caught up in.
Absolutely. I agree.
Do you have a sense for like ROI when somebody hires on you or a PR strategist? Kind of what kind of impact do you see that make for somebody?
I tend to like, when people ask me what's the ROI, I'm like, I can't really give you the measurements on those specifically. I'm not a marketing agency. PR agency is different, right? Our goal is to get your story, because when you get your story out and say Forbes, you can use that and use it towards a digital asset, which then you can convert it to an ad. But when people can see in your ad that you were featured in Forbes, that in itself will give you an ROI, right?
Right.
So I would say the only way you want to get ROI is use what I give you, your story in top tier publications, and then you can translate that into any other digital asset you want. And that's your ROI.
Yeah, it's a precursor to the ROI, right? The ROI, it comes because this is an activity that takes place beforehand. We see that a lot of times in advertisement when you're just building out brand in the first place. You might sponsor a golf tournament and your expectation is not that you're going to get people to buy your product or services at the golf tournament, but now you've gotten some exposure, and that down the road can lead somebody to say, oh, hey, look, golf balls from so-and-so brand. Well, I need that now, or, I'm ready to make that move. So maybe not always a direct correlation, but obviously there's something there. Do you feel like this is something people are capable of doing on their own, or do people really need to bring in an expert to really pursue a strategy successfully here?
I really think you need a strategist, because think about it. We hired a PR agency to represent us in the restaurant, right? I mean, I have no idea how to even go about pitching my restaurant. You need to have these relationships that you fostered over the years with journalists, with media outlets. I mean, I can't even think about how to go about it yourself. It will be a really tough road. Perhaps you can. It's nothing is impossible, but it's just going to stall time. It's going to take a really long time to do it on your own. And time is money. Time is priceless. And I wouldn't want it if I want to scale my business. I believe in delegating. If you think I don't need to bring you on and I can do it myself, I wouldn't even work with you, because I know that you're not serious about taking your business, and you're not even there. You don't have enough revenue, because when you're there, then you're like, look, I have no time. I want to delegate. You do this, you do that, and that, you take me as high as you can, right? And so that's the only time I know that a client is serious.
Yeah, there's something there. We talk all the time: automate, outsource, and delegate. And if you're not doing all three of those things, and arguably ahead of when you need to, like before it becomes an issue, then you're missing out in business, because we can't do it all. It's impossible. It's just impossible.
Absolutely. Exactly.
I want to touch on, it was a previous second ago, about the ROI thing. And for our listeners, I kind of feel a lot of people get caught up when they hear ROI, only think financial, right? Only has to do with the money. Like, what's my return on my investment financially? And we missed the whole other piece of education is a return on investment. And building that confidence, which is a big thing that we talk about, is a return on investment. So when you're saying getting yourself out there and putting yourself in places, that to me alone is a return on investment, because now the confidence that you have of being in those areas is something that, sure, you can't measure it the same way. Absolutely. But that internal confidence that builds within, as you know, as our listeners know, we talk about confidence all the time, because that's one of the key components of presenting yourself and presenting your business.
Guess what? I'll be using that starting today.
Hey, that's awesome.
Hey, if I'm going to put you on the pedestal, then you get all the confidence, and that's exactly what it is. Thank you for that.
Right. And that's arguably priceless. Developing confidence. I mean, it's a key component in our business model when we work with people, because for most people, it's a need. Doubt, imposter syndrome, all that stuff exists, and it's very real. So it is immeasurable, and goodwill in general is immeasurable. Like the brand, the power of the brand, you can't measure in in dollars and cents a lot of times, not like a true ROI. Analysts struggle with this all the time with financials anyways. They really struggle to solve for that stuff. So I can really appreciate that. Why'd you write the book? If you don't mind me asking, what drove you to write that book?
Yeah. Awesome. I love that question, because when I heard a statistic at the start of the pandemic that 45% of women didn't have a voice during virtual meetings, that in itself just like lit something up, a light bulb
Really?
went off. And I said, wow. It was, I think, according to a Catalyst or some sort of news wire. And so that in itself like catapulted everything for me just to start writing and using that to help others as a self-development guide. So it's a part memoir and self-development guide to help boost confidence and getting out of that comfort zone, have courage. People don't have the courage to even speak, right? So think about it. If I'm speaking to you, some people would say, why would I matter? My message is probably the same as someone else's. So why would they even listen to me? I'm a college dropout. I'm a single mom. I didn't even have any background in PR. Why me? Well, because you're a messenger, and every messenger has a different view on things, right? And so you matter, and that's all that matters.
Oh, I love that. You matter. And that's an absolutely astounding statistic. I don't want to say I'm shocked by it, but it's amazing to me. So 45% of women didn't feel like they had a voice or had no voice in virtual meetings. I wonder how true that holds in in-person meetings too. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a high correlation to even in-person meetings.
Oh, I'd absolutely. A fun story, a little aside. Went out to dinner with some friends the other night, and one of the women at the table was the one taking care of the wine order. She had the wine list. She's going through the wine. She's picking out the wine, orders the wine, does all this with the server. And when the server brings over the bottle of wine to do the taste, who do they give it to? The only gentleman at the table, myself.
Really?
And I'm looking at this, I'm like, this woman over here did all the ordering. She took care of the wine. She picked which one she wanted. You asked her all the questions that she was responding to you, and she was asking all the questions to you. Why would it come to me? And it's because he was just so ingrained on that's what you're supposed to do. He missed every other cue at that table. And if that's happening in that kind of setting, could you imagine what's happening in the boardroom where people are, these older white men, especially as a white man, I can say this, are so ingrained that we have to protect what's ours. We can't allow anyone else into our circle. It's just crazy. So I think those numbers are probably actually low.
Right. Maybe you're right. But the whole reference to the wine, I mean, I've been a victim of that myself when I'm like sitting there with my date. I'm like, why? And then my date would just push the wine, be like, no, let her try first. I'm like, well, I think you might have a second date.
I love it.
That was my response. It's like, why am I getting it?
So because I think that this is a nice topic to really zero in on for a few minutes. For our female listeners, obviously important to you to be able to help and offer some insight to other women entrepreneurs. What's one of the best ways for them to get over that hump if they do feel like they're silenced or they don't have a voice? What are your recommendations for them to help develop a voice or to take that very first step?
Well, I would say what I did. I became that in my mind, and then I did reverse engineer. I reverse engineer everything in my life. So I would say I am that, and then I become it. Okay. And then I would just speak into the mirror or wherever it is. Affirmations. You have to rewire your brain. It's all about the mindset. Mindset is so important. So reverse engineer everything you do. So before I even knew I wanted to go global, I already did a group. I knew it's going to be global, right? But I didn't know when, but I had to work towards it because it's group already. Then I have to go and do it. So I would say, don't fake it, but be it to become it.
Really well said, and tight. We work a lot with people on messaging. I love how lean your messaging is. I heard somebody use that word recently in the clubhouse, and I really enjoyed it. Lean messaging. Just kind of keeping it tight. That's an important skill most people need to work on. So you're pretty solid at that. It's nice. All right, so reverse engineer, kind of view the end in mind and work your way towards that and build it out. it's a journey though, right? I mean, this is not something that happened overnight for you. It took some time to develop. How long has this process to globalization been going on for you?
Rome was not built in one day. And if
No.
it's built in one day, it's going to crash right back at you. It's not real, right? It's definitely. So I would say, my company is about 6 years old, and so that's how long it took, right? But in my mind, I feel like it took more years, like because it was just like pressure and pressure. And I mean, I work really well under pressure, and diamonds are formed right under pressure, and that's what I do. But the thing is, I feel that I gave myself 10 years to go global, but I knew that I'm not going to do it in 10 years. I'm going to do it in 5. Okay, 6. I went, but I'm just saying that you can say 10 or 5, but do it in less, That's what I did.
Doc, you got something to say about the amount of time there? I know you do. I can read your mind.
Time is irrelevant. Time is really a construct that we make of it, right? So that's
Right.
what you're saying there is perfect. Like example of that is we set those numbers so we have something to shoot for, but in reality, we've created that number. So sure, it should take less time or more time than that arbitrary number that we created. We use that as just a guide for us, which is a good thing because it helps us to have a focus. But we shouldn't beat ourselves up if we don't hit that exact time, and we should, celebrate if we get that time earlier. It is arbitrary, so focus on the goal itself and just use whatever measurements that work best for you.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's amazing what we can accomplish in a short period of time, and that's for individuals and for entire countries and civilizations. I mean, look at where we were 30 years ago, in technology versus where we are today. It's absolutely mind blowing what we can do in a short period of time when we put the energy in, and we don't get caught in getting stuck, which happens a lot, unfortunately. Liana, I want to go back to when you had this woman approach you and she said, I see something in you and I want you to do this. Today you do a whole lot of mentoring, it looks like. And I want you to speak to that in a moment. I'm just curious, did that woman become a mentor to you, or did she just open up the door to a little bit more self-awareness? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, she definitely did become a mentor. She was a client first, okay, and then became a mentor, and then I helped her with her company, and then she had to leave back to Romania. So we still, keep in touch here and there, but it's not the same. Her line is no longer here in the States. But it's so crucial to have mentors along the way, and she was my second mentor actually. That she was the second person that actually saw something in me that turned into a mentor. The very first person that saw something in me was when I was styling as well. And she saw something that I needed help with. She's like, I see you need help. Like you need to ask for help. You're not asking for help enough. And I'm like, and you know how women are. Women actually also statistically proven don't ask for help as much as men do. And so I said, you know what? I do need help. Yes, things are not really aligned or how they're supposed to go. And so when I opened up to her, she felt that she could help me and guide me in the right direction. So yes, to answer your question, mentorship is so, so crucial. And that's why I'm passing it down. And I mentor so many women right now, and I give it away just because I want from my heart.
Doc, in regards to asking for help, and I'm like really guilty of this. I don't like to ask for help. I really don't, unless I'm forced to. But I don't, it's interesting for me to hear that women ask for help less than men. It's just that I don't think a lot of people ask for help, period. And I'm kind of just curious if you got something to drop for our listeners, Doc, around that and why.
So JB is basically saying he's the stereotype that doesn't stop and ask for directions.
I'm crying for help. This is a cry for help, everybody.
Well, the first thing I want to bring up, and I think this was a point I was going to make anyway, so this is a perfect point for it, that we're not all created equal, right? We are very unique. And I want to be cautious because we were talking a lot about the difference between men and women. I think that inside those subsets, there's so many differences as well. And there's so many different ways that people respond to things, react to things, are motivated by things. And that's across gender. That has no There is not an ownership of a gender for that. Obviously, we have statistics that show certain groups do certain things a little bit differently, but even those could be pulled apart if you actually start to break that apart. I mean, even just look at this room right now when we're having this conversation from the very beginning. We're all at different levels of colleges. One dropped out of college, one went 4-year college, one has a doctorate, 100 years of college, all successful, right? In all different ways that they're motivated, all different ways that they learn. And I think that's important for people today to see is there isn't one route that you have to take because someone else took it. You have to find what matches and matters for you. And I've been taught by many very strong, powerful women. My last 3 bosses when I worked for companies were all women. And I probably did learn more from them than I probably learned from any male boss that I had prior to that. But I didn't matter if they were male or female to me. It was they had the knowledge that I needed and looked to and I related to. So it's really just finding who matches you best and picking that person. Sometimes it is our own sex that we can relate to better because they have a little bit of understanding of some of the things that we go through. But I want people that are listening not to feel like they have to fall into that box, hate boxes, and just kind of find what's best for them and take it from there. I don't know if that was your exact question, but that was the rant I was going on.
Oh, it was helpful. I think we all do need help from time to time. And Liana, I got to say, one of the coolest things that you told us before coming on here, which is, I have perspective on it now, is you want to help 1 million women. You want to mentor 1 million women in the next 5 years, but you don't really mean the next 5 years, do you? You mean like the next 2 years or something. I can tell already.
Yes, exactly. When I think about that number, it excites me. It gives me all these emotions, but I know it's doable because I know I have a strong message, and I know that women need to be mentored, and I'm speaking specifically towards geared towards women who are in high schools who, didn't have that voice. I would say, like, because I didn't have a voice growing up, because I come from that background, because my teachers perhaps didn't believe in me, even though I was an A student. I was even in here in my library, you'll see I'm in the who's who among high school students in America. I have those accolades in high school, but the thing is, wasn't the support matters. And so, yes, mentoring women and giving them the courage to speak up, finding their voice, crafting their story, and getting their clarity. I think that's just my mission here, just to help you get out there and become visible.
Let me just add to what I was saying and also clarify what Liana was saying, I think so gracefully. When I'm talking about those boxes and the idea that everyone learns different, I'm teaching like globally of how we can learn and how we can grow. But there is a real limitation that is put on different groups in our society. And women are pigeonholed a lot unfairly. And that's where I think you're bringing such value to those other women that maybe don't have that access or have been put in that box unfairly. And so I don't want those two things to get confused, that there is definitely some limitations and some things that are real. I was speaking more of the way that we can learn and kind of grow from it.
The question is, I'm sorry.
Oh, that wasn't a question. That was a statement.
Oh, okay. I just kind of like.
We put JB to sleep though, so that was what happened.
No, I just like, I appreciate it. You're just trying to make sure that what people understood what you meant to say, I suppose. Liana, I think maybe the last question I want to ask you is, so have you started reverse engineering how you're going to impact 1 million women? That's a big number. So what's kind of the process look like to you, I guess?
Yeah. So public speaking is my go-to, right? So I'm an impact speaker. And so going into I actually went back to the college that I dropped out of. Guess what? And that was like this 180-degree feeling of like, wow, the biggest aha moment, like I was here, I dropped out, now they hired me as a speaker. That's awesome. And so, people got my books and, I signed them. It was really an amazing feeling. So what I do is I'm targeting all these different high schools, orphanages, and universities that they're part of my masterclass and that I'm offering. And so once they join my masterclass, and we have right now over 5,000 people in our masterclass, which come back and forth. Yes, thank you. And so we do a 3-month program. Every 3 months, we mentor them on Be Epic, Be Seen, and Be Heard masterclass.
That is Awesome. I love it. So you did entirely reverse engineer this already. That is awesome. That's phenomenal. And I'm hoping, because I know we have some listeners that we know personally, Doc. I hope some of our women listeners that are even in that marketplace are listening in and able to get in touch with you, because I think there's just some great partnership opportunities to be able to support your mission. I think it just aligns really well with some of our listeners' missions as well. So that's awesome.
And because I like podcasting and I like good ones, can you share a little bit about your podcast with our audience so they have another area that they can listen to you and her?
Yes. What Makes a Woman podcast. It's a show that I started to inspire the next generation of female entrepreneurs so that you can get the tips and tricks of how to start your business. You get the resources and the right tools for you to be like, okay, that's what I need in order to scale, in order for me to get to 6 figures, 7, 8, 9. And so I bring on all these guests to teach you exactly how to start your business and give you all the tips and tricks. So the recent, I have all different types of guests, celebrities, I have professional C-level executives. And one of the guest speakers that I interviewed was Darren Prince, who also owns a marketing agency. But Darren Prince is a celebrity and his client is Sylvester Stallone. And so when I reached out to him during the pandemic, I'm like, look, I'm doubling down on digital marketing and I need to get you on my podcast. I'm a fan. I didn't get a no, which I was thinking I'll get a no. So I reached out. I said, heck, if I get a no, I'll try again. You try until you get a yes. And so he then endorsed my book. And so, you know what? You never know that one leap of faith and one believe in yourself that you can do it, you matter. And then a lot of doors open.
It's awesome. Yeah, that alone, just that 30, 45 seconds there, it's just it's just great insight for somebody. You got to ask, right? You can never get a no if you don't ask, but you can also never get a yes. And a lot of people are always afraid to ask. So it's amazing what that can do. That is fantastic. Liana, do you have any thing to add for our guests? You have a promotion, a giveaway, or anything that you wanted to let everybody know about while we still have you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can just visit my website if you like, ZavoMedia.com, and you can sign up to my B.E.P.I.C masterclass. And I can't wait to see you on the inside. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Liana, thank you so much for joining us. I really love the conversation.
Thank you. Same here.
I'm really glad we were able to chat and have you on board.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, guys. Have a great weekend.
And of course, you can find all Liana's information in our show notes. And of course, she's also a member of our Facebook group, the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab, where you can ask her questions directly right there. So do that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you. I love the energy, Doc. It is so nice to have somebody who is able to just kind of put it out there almost like rapid fire, man.
Yeah, great story, great messaging, great way to explore that with women between the podcast and the book and all the things that she's doing. It's really impressive.
It's cool to see somebody go point to something and say, I'm going to go do this, and I will accomplish this. And then this is how I'm going to do it. And they actually reverse engineer, but then they actually follow those steps and do it. Mm-hmm. That takes a certain level of determination, dedication, and consistency that I think a lot of people probably need to work on. Liana seems to have that down pat. It's cool.
Well, it's really great to see, is because we do talk about all the time that we are unique and we're not all created equal and have different strengths. To see how different people implement different strategies, and multiple of them are successful. So it gives hopefully our audience a way to hear how different people do it, especially if you listen to our last few episodes last month or last 2 months. There's been a wide range of guests and the way they get things done and their strategies behind it. And I think that's great because it gives that idea that there is a way, even if you haven't found it yet, there's still a way for you to find it.
Yeah. Really, really well put, Doc, and really evident throughout the podcast. So if you are still here and listening to us, thank you again. If it's on YouTube, subscribe and follow. If it's on a podcast, give us a 5-star review, share it with your friends and family. Let people know about this. We do this for you. Check out some of our other episodes. And of course, you can always find us and all of our guests right in the lab, our private Facebook community. private, not private and free, but you do have to ask to join. So make sure you join. Okay.
Yeah, that was clear.
I mean, I thought I was getting there. I should just leave that to you.
It's all right. Tongue twisters happen all the time with this one. That's the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab Facebook group. It is private, but it is also free.
Yes. Yes, it is
I think that's
private
where we're
and
going.
free. Yes. We're also all over social media, of course, at JB and the Doctor. You can find us on Instagram. You can find our personal Instagram profiles as well as the JB and the Doctor profile. Keep an eye out for PT with JB and Psycho Rock with the Doc. Did I get that one right?
You got it right.
All right. That's it. And stay tuned for next week when we have another awesome guest joining us right here in the lab.
All those things are true. Push all those buttons. Subscribe to everything. We really appreciate it. Reviews, shares, all those things really, really help more than you'll ever know. So do them, please.
All right, Doc. I'm JB. I'm out.
Peace out, yo.